Hello, my name's Riley Andre, and my presentation is on Jonathan Van Ness's autobiography called Over the Top. Here's his cover page. So it's a raw journey to self-love. He kind of just goes over his whole life throughout the whole book, goes over his sexuality, his HIV positive status, his addiction, kind of just like his rise to fame, everything in between. So Jonathan's most widely known for his Netflix show called Queer Eye. It's where five gay men go and just transform people's lives. They kind of just go into every aspect of their life and change their home, change how they get dressed, everything. So Jonathan's main role is to give people makeovers. He gives them like haircuts. In this picture, here's a couple pictures of him in the act. But he gives people products to work with just to feel better about themselves. That's kind of what the whole show is about. Just getting people to feel comfortable in their own skin. The show was nominated for multiple Emmy Awards. He himself has even been nominated for Outstanding Structured Reality Program and Outstanding Host. So he's just very, very versatile. He dresses amazing, as you can see. He also has a podcast. It's called Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness. He interviews celebrities, everyone, doctors, anyone he has a question for, he interviews them. And he's just insanely funny. He just captures everyone in such a good light, too. Very positive. Um, so he's performed a lot of comedy acts, too, all around the United States and the United Kingdom. So here's where we get into his early childhood. This is mainly what the book is about, kind of going through his life. So here's a picture of him and his mother, and then his stepfather and his mother, which he was raised by. He does know his father, but I think they're just not that close. So Jonathan was born on March 28th in 1987 in Quincy, Illinois. He grew up in a very small town, which small towns are quite enabled to gossip and just knowing everything about everyone's business. So he got a lot of harsh judgment. He enjoyed playing dress up and putting on performances for his family. However, this wasn't really like taken well with his classmates. A lot of people bullied him for not kind of like gender conforming. He didn't necessarily wear blue and play baseball. He kind of just did what he felt like he wanted to. So he struggled with a lot of confidence issues by being because of being like body shamed. He was called homophobic slurs, and a lot of this got to him because when you have peers, everyone your age, you kind of just want to fit in. You don't want someone to call you out or make you feel bad about the way you feel. So whenever he was just being himself, he was getting um, bullied for it. And so he dealt with a lot in his childhood. So as a young child, he wasn't really afraid to embrace his femininity. He was in his high school's first male cheerleader. So here is him, obviously, multiple years forward. He went back just to show his high school, like, hey, look where I am now. Like, y'all bullied me then, but now, as y'all can see, like, everyone's okay with him coming back. He just kind of wanted to show them, like, it's okay to be different and you won't fail. You can succeed. So at the time, whenever he became his first male cheerleader for the school, it wasn't really taken well. Students would spread rumors about him and throw beer bottles at him. Jonathan writes in his memoir, if I've learned anything, it's that acceptance is key to so much. We find so much freedom in feeling fierce about what we're accepting. He wasn't really accepted back then. So I think now, as someone who is being accepted as we move forward in 2023, we're able to kind of let people be who they are. So I think whenever you do feel accepted, there is so much freedom within that. You feel okay to express yourself and okay to just be whoever you want to be. But his peers were not accepting of him at that time, and that treatment stuck within him into his adulthood. And even at a young age, Jonathan was sexually abused by a boy at church. It just became kind of two friends. The guy was teaching him how to play a game, but it ended in him being in a closet with most of his clothes taken off. So obviously, not consent. He was definitely taken advantage of at a young age. And Jonathan didn't really understand that. I mean, he was so young. When you're that young, you don't understand what's happening to you. You don't understand if that's not correct. So he just remembers feeling like a great deal of shame. That's all he kind of says about that. The trauma from his abuse and his lack of self esteem made him develop very unsafe coping mechanisms. So he would seek sexual partners through online chat rooms. Jonathan writes, sometimes our insecurity and fear about being alone or independent in the world can be our Achilles heel. I've learned that several times, and I'm not just being hard on myself. I wish my future self could go back in time and tell my younger self, don't be afraid to be alone, honey. You're okay. That definitely stuck with me. That was like the biggest thing in his whole book was it's okay to be alone. And he dealt a lot with that. He felt like being alone, it wasn't helping him. And being an adult now, he can kind of go back and be like, hey, you know, you don't always have to have somebody. So he was dealing with a lot of sex addiction and just going and finding strangers, which is very unsafe. But the sex addiction, it did not stop with just sex. He graduated early from high school and he enrolled in the University of Arizona, which that did not help him. So being at such a young age, going into college, he would spend all his monthly allowance on cocaine. And when he ran out of money, he would just go into online chat rooms and sell his body for money, basically. Jonathan says, I was learning that if I lived slightly in the future, I didn't have to feel so much about what was going to happen in the present. He was using drugs, so he didn't have to deal with his reality. He flunked out of his first year of college. So he just he wasn't feeling great. He was in a bad state. He flunked. So he moves to Minneapolis to enroll in a beautician program and he got his certificate. So once he got his certificate, he moved to LA, Los Angeles, to pursue his career. But the sex and drug addiction only got worse. So he would meet somebody that introduced him to methamphetamine, um, really bad drug. He just kept going deeper and deeper into this hole. So he had to go to rehab twice and he relapsed both times. Jonathan says, one thing I have come to notice in my life is that recovery for me has not been linear. It's more two steps forward, three steps back, five steps forward, two back. So I'm always improving, but there are setbacks within the improvement. I think that goes for a lot of people. I know even with school, you kind of have to give yourself a little bit of motivation, do one assignment, but now you have two assignments due on the next day. So you got to keep yourself going. It's kind of exactly like being a teenager, just your whole life has setbacks. You do one thing, but now you have to do another thing. So he's just very relatable, very easy to get along with. And Jonathan was diagnosed with HIV. So one day he was doing a client's hair and he passes out on the floor. He has to go to the hospital and they diagnosed him with a positive HIV status. I think that was the day where he kind of opened his eyes and he was like, I need to worry about my health. I need to worry about myself. I need to get myself better. So he worked very hard to achieve those goals. He went to rehab, he got better, he started like really taking care of himself. So that's whenever him and his friend Aaron Gebson They created a parody web series called Gay of Thrones. So this series was kind of just a parody of Game of Thrones. They would just like watch episodes, kind of like make fun of it, just give a little bit of humor to the situation. So as this series got recognition online, his manager got him an audition for the reboot of Queer Eye. So in just 4 years, he was able to become a breakout star in the mainstream media. He uses his platform very wisely. So he advocates for HIV positive people, for the more scientific research, for more funding, and just all around LGBTQ plus rights. He speaks out against discrimination and fights for policies that support the community. And overall, he's become a very important voice for the fight in this cause. It kind of just really, really makes you want to just also be a part of something. Watching him speak so just intently about something he believes in and so passionate about it just makes you want to also be passionate about in that cause. He struggled with so many things throughout his life, even writing his autobiography. And he writes, "It's not going to be pretty, but it's my truth. And if I don't share it, I won't be able to help others who are struggled to funk." He just is such a relatable person for so many people in this world. A lot of college students who are dealing with maybe just anything they went through as a child. This book like helps you so much to just open your eyes to new possibilities and just being able to be okay with yourself and navigate through stereotypes and prejudices in order to achieve success. And Jonathan's past experiences have a profound impact on his autobiography. It shapes the content, it shapes the tone of it, and overall, it's very emotional and candid reflection of his life. He lets it all out. He lets you inside of his mind. So, what is Jonathan doing now? He owns a hair company. He just he's doing very successful things with that, very good marketing skills, very good businessman. He's funny, he's amazing, everything. He also recently just got married in 2020 um, to Mark Peacock, and he's just living very happy life. He's able to express himself, and even though he still does struggle with obviously a lot of different things, even just gender conformity, his body, everything, it's still a part of his everyday life, but he's able to express it now more. He doesn't feel like that little kid who was stuck in his body that he couldn't express himself and he was getting made fun of. So overall, Jonathan is such an amazing character, person, host, podcaster, everything. Like he is so well versatile and well rounded and everything in between. So yeah, we love Jonathan Van Ness.